everybody, and welcome back to the KK Zone. As always, I am Kara Kaufman. I am coming at you this Monday evening with a special treat. Tomorrow, on Tuesday, the Yankees start a two-game set with the Atlanta Braves, and I have a conversation with real live Braves fan Patrick Kelly, who is kind enough to come on and chat with me all about the team. We get into the players, the roster, the expectations, and as always with me, the fun mascot. So I hope you enjoy this conversation and it gives you some more information for tomorrow's series. Patrick, thank you for joining me. This is awesome.
Yes, this is great. Thank you so much for having me, Kara. I'm really excited.
This is my pleasure. So, where are you coming from? Where are you?
I'm coming from Casey, South Carolina, which is a city just across the river from Columbia, South Carolina, which is the capital, which is where I'm from originally.
Nice. That seems like it's pretty firmly in Braves territory.
Very firmly in Braves territory, solid Braves country here.
Amazing. So, I guess that answers my question, kind of. But tell me more about how you became a Braves fan.
I was born into it. I was born into this burden of being a Braves fan. Now, most of my life, the Braves have been pretty competitive for the most part, so I'm very lucky in that regard. But yeah, my dad was a Braves fan, and he raised me as a Braves fan. One of my first words was Bob Horner when I was a very young child. And I had no idea who Bob Horner actually was until much later in life. So yeah,
That's a great job by your dad.
yes, he did a great job. He's very good at instilling things like that in me for sure.
That's fantastic. So, you must have a lot of early memories of baseball games.
I do. I mean, mostly on TV, but we've had minor league baseball here in Columbia for most of my life as well. So I can remember going to some minor league games when I was a kid as well, and all throughout my upbringing as well.
That's the most fun. Minor leagues for a kid, I think, are probably the most fun thing in the world.
Absolutely, it's just so laid back and casual, and you get to watch the game or not. There's a great atmosphere. Lots of people just there to have a good time. It's cheap. It's a good family thing. It's a lot of fun. We have a really nice newish park here in Columbia now for the Columbia Fireflies, or our local team. They're a Royals affiliate. They're the Royals low A team, I think. They were the Mets until this past season, and the shuffling and realignment and all that stuff. So now we're a Royals franchise.
Well, that's fun. I think the Royals have some kind of good young prospects, so that could be a really fun thing to do.
Yeah,
But so your Braves. That's what we're here to talk
yeah,
about.
that's the
They
idea. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
nice, nice. Oh, perfect branding, beautiful.
Yeah,
Um,
nothing
so
like it.
as we speak, they have an off day today,
Yes.
as do the Yanks. They are sitting at 7-9. It's I haven't been watching really, but just like observing, uh, they lost their first four games, which was surprising to me, and including they lost three of four then to Miami, which I mean Miami's not as bad as everyone thinks Miami is. So that was not that crazy. It was surprising to me that they didn't get off to a better start considering how good of the team is. Uh, but I also think just looking at them from afar, they seem to be perpetually underrated because to me, I mean, they're the multiple time defending National League East champions, and people having them pegged for third or fourth in the division, which I'm always surprised about. But so what have you seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been that case the past couple of years too, with the Braves being pegged to finish in the middle of the division, and there's been talk about how the NL East is a tough division, and it has been for many years now. But I think this year, particularly, that really rings true. Like, it is a really tough division. The Marlins have been, ever since Derek Jeter took over the Marlins, like they've been really coming along and rebuilding from the ground up. They got Mattingly as their manager. Like, it's what a cool combo. You do get these two Yankees down there doing the Marlins thing.
They love
Yeah, it's super fun. I know. I'm sure. I had a lot of Don Mattingly baseball cards when I was a kid, and the Phillies have been good for a while. I mean, really, ever since they won the series, they've been pretty competitive for the most part of several, many years ago now. The Nationals, I feel like the Nationals have been good almost since they like came down from Montreal. It feels like they've been fairly perennial contenders. And then the Braves had their incredible run in the '90s, when I was growing up, and then sort of went off for a while, but not that long, really. Like it maybe like 8 or maybe 7 or 8 years or something like that, and then we're kind of right back into perennial contenders for the NL East crown and to make a run in the playoffs. Yeah, so I feel like it's part of that. I feel like it's just how competitive the division and the Mets. Of course, the Mets are like almost completely like had a solid base last year, and now they're even more retooled with Francisco Lindor and all these other players that have come along. and under new ownership now too. So it's just like it's a scary division to play in. So I think that that's why people are so down on the Braves. And the Braves tried to like the Braves issues recently have not been position play. I mean, the last season we have Acuna, of course, so he's just. I mean, I think he's the best. I think he's taken it from Trout now. I think he's the best player in baseball. And of course, as we speak, he's day to day with an abdominal strain. So the Bronx people in the Bronx may not even get to see Acuna, unfortunately. Hopefully, at least hopefully it's not a long injury. That would be because he's kind of all we got right now in terms of bats. It seems like
I'm so
that nobody else is getting.
torn because I want to see him play because I love watching him play, but I don't want to see him play against us because the Yankees have been scuffling even more than the Braves, and the last thing we need
Right.
is Acuna just to knock 7 homers off of whoever we have pitching. But that being
And,
said,
and he's very capable. Yes, yeah, he's very capable. But the Braves, I feel like their sort of bugaboo right now is still starting
mm,
pitching. They made some moves in the offseason to bring back Charlie Morton, who was a Brave a long time ago before he
yes,
went on his journeyman ways. And to bring in Drew Smiley, the veteran, who's on the shelf now. He's on the IL.
yep,
So they tried to do this to bolster the young rotation with Fried, and Soroka's still hurt coming back from his Achilles injury, and then just trying to fill that fifth starter spot with. The Braves always seem to have the Braves have had a good farm system for a long time, and so it always feels like there's someone waiting in the wings in Atlanta, like ready to step up and take the next step. But right now, the Braves have several of those guys as far as starting pitchers, but none of them are quite ready. It seems like they might show some flashes of promise. Like Ian Anderson right now is kind of that guy. He started in the rotation begin the year, but he hasn't been all that great. He's pretty good in spring training, but that's spring training, so it doesn't matter. And he's been okay to start. It's like I feel like starting pitching is still kind of the thing that is holding the Braves back. Hitting can be really street unless you're Freddie Freeman or Ronald Acuna, and Freddie Freeman has been slumping to start the season too. Hitting will get going. I'm not too worried about that. I don't know if we can expect the same output from Marcelo Zuna that we got last year when he was just insane. I don't know if we can expect that because we probably can't. But I feel like the bats will come around. The Braves will continue to produce. I think it's going to be the starters that are really going to be that are going to be that. And I feel like around the division, the Marlins have a lot of really good starting pitchers. I mean, the Phillies and the Nationals and the Mets all have at least one or two really, really solid starting pitchers, if not three or four. So I feel like with Atlanta, it's still that. It's like, yeah, like we have some talented arms, but at the same time, it's not as solid. They're not quite as dependable yet as a lot of the other starters that are in the division.
yeah,
It's
it
my
seems
long
to
answer
me
why they're underrated.
that actually completely makes sense to me. I think there's some lack of track record in a lot of cases that the projection systems take that into account pretty highly. So if you're looking at, I mean, Ronald Acuna Jr. is projected for insane numbers, even though he's relatively new on the scene. But yeah, I think if you're thinking that probably Fried would be your ace, kind of, but he's
Right.
too young to really have that title. I thought signing Charlie Morton back was a fantastic move by the Braves. I mean, pretty blown away that Tampa didn't retain him. I mean, not really because Tampa's Tampa, but I think
Right.
that was so cool. But the thing with Morton is he's been Mr. Dependable, but at this point he's almost 40. So
Yeah.
that at a certain point is like, it's still gonna be good? So far so good.
Yeah. Yeah, he's innings so far, right? That's what you need him to do. You need to go out there and eat some innings for you, and that's what he can do. And usually he can do it, in a pretty reliable way.
And I remember, I might be wrong here. I definitely watched a good chunk of. So looking at last season for a second, they had such a good year. I mean, they won the division obviously, and they were one game away from the World Series. And I mean, there's the path to the NLCS. They didn't lose a game. It
Right.
was pretty dominant. And then against the Dodgers, that was such a good series. I remember watching a lot of it and it being such good baseball all around. I
Yeah.
could have gone either way. No, there's no shame in losing to the Dodgers, who are clearly one of the best teams in baseball for the past, like, how many years now? I've lost 10, 20,
So
100.
many. Yeah, it's unreal that they've only won one series in the last decade. It seems like they've been so dominant.
Shocking. Completely. I mean, the last one they won before this was back in, what was it, 80? No. Yeah, it was 89, I think. It's been
Right. Yeah. In the late '80s. Yeah.
stupidly long. But that being said, I thought the Braves were fantastic against them and matched up really well. And I could be wrong, but I think I remember Anderson having at least one really, really good start. He didn't have a scoreless streak in the playoffs for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's how he really cemented his place in the rotation. And at that point, the Braves were just like, if you have an arm, like we'll put you on the mound. Essentially, like we just had no one as far as starting pitching was concerned. And yeah, so it's just like, you're the next man up. Let's go, kid. Let's see what you can do. And he really delivered. So yeah, he had a crazy run of the playoffs. That run of the playoffs last year was really magical. I was not expect that. I was just hoping the Braves had kind of like, they'd been unable to win. They'd been making the playoffs consistently, winning the division, but or like winning the wild card, but they couldn't win a playoff game. Like they couldn't win a playoff series. And so that was like my fan goal last season was that. It was like, can we just win one playoff series? Like that's all I want. Like after that, who knows? Like I don't care. It doesn't matter. But then we had the run that we did, and we're one game away from the series, like you said. One game.
Yeah. What stuck with you from that? Because for me, it was just how exciting and dynamic the team is. But what was your takeaway, and how much do you think might be a carryover to this season?
It really was that. I mean, like the pitchers just pitching found a way. I mean, before last season, before the short season, Alex Anthopoulos did a really good job of rebuilding our bullpen, and we still. I feel like part of me wishes that the Braves would do what the Rays do this year and just be like, just lean on the bullpen. Like the starters aren't quite there. Have those guys, eat as many innings as they can, but be sort of ready to go to the pen. And because our bullpen continues to be pretty consistent through this season, more consistent than our starting pitching has been. But last season, I feel like it was the strength of the bullpen. And then just the addition of Marcell Ozuna last year, just one as protection for Freddie Freeman, and two just as like as a spark, like as a big piece of chemistry. Like he really just seemed to like amplify the energy that guys like Acuna and Albies have been bringing already. It was just like he sort of tied it all together and really got everybody going. And he's still like, you could still see Marcell doing it like in the dugout. He's just, his bat hasn't started to come around really yet. But I feel like those were the two keys last year was the addition of Ozuna and the strengthening of that bullpen that really got us to where we ended up going.
That makes complete sense to me. And that's why I feel like re-signing Marcell Ozuna in the offseason was a fantastic move for them. I mean, I think you're right that expecting him to repeat last year is probably unrealistic given his career to date. But yeah, a big bat that you obviously figure with power. Maybe not the best defensive outfielder we've ever seen, to put it out.
That's okay.
but yeah, you can always put him for defense later on in the game. And in the meantime, he's a big bat in the middle of that order. That was awesome. Also, I think we have to, so they signed Drew Smiley, as you alluded to, and also Josh Tomlin, who
Right.
I had in my brain as a starter, but apparently he's a reliever.
Yes. He was for a long time, right? I remember Josh Tomlin was a long-time Cleveland Indians starter, like
Yeah.
for a long time was a starter for Cleveland. And then, I mean, is those pitchers who can reinvent themselves out of the pen and just like they know that they have dependable stuff, they can get guys out. They're not going to make too many mistakes. They're good with location. They're not going to walk too many guys,
Right.
and they can really prolong their careers by being a 1 or 2 or 3 inning guy out of the bullpen. Tomlin has been awesome for us ever since we brought him in before last season. He's been really, really great addition to the bullpen.
Yeah, the bullpen. So speaking of that strong bullpen, I was looking at this because, like I said, I haven't watched the Braves enough to have the names just in my head. But looking at these names, I found myself recognizing most of them, which means that they're people that have been talked about, which means they're probably doing pretty well for themselves. So yeah, so Will Smith,
Right.
the de facto closer at this point, it seems like,
Yep.
and he's been great.
Yep.
And then there are two guys in the bullpen right now who have yet to allow a run this season in Luke Jackson and Tyler Matzek.
Right.
Pretty neat. And that's not even talking about, you have AJ Minter in there. And then I'm going to say his name wrong. Huascar Inoa?
Yeah. Oscar Eno, I believe. Yeah.
Oscar Inoa. Wow, that's a lot of extra letters in Oscar, but good for him.
Yeah.
And he's been swinging to be a starter too.
Yeah. He's been a good swing man. He's been really he had his last outing, I think, was 2 nights ago against the Cubs when we sort of flip-flopped with the Cubs the past 2 nights. It was like the Cubs scored 13 runs one night and then we scored 13 runs the next night. So I was just letting off steam, letting off steam, I guess. But I had been really, really, really solid all season until then. And then, Wrigley Field, it's a magical place. Who knows what can happen? It's just like it is what it is. You can't be great every time. So he got the better of him. Got it better of him the other night.
Something even better than that. They traded off giving up and scoring 13 runs, but the score in both cases was 13-4.
Yeah, that's wild. I did not know that. That is wild.
That not strange? That is very strange. Also, what's amazing about that too is the Cubs hadn't scored more than 5 runs at all in the season until that game.
Wow, there you go. There it is.
So
there it is.
that's baseball, right? Crazy.
That's right. Yeah.
But then, okay, so and we said Soroka is on the injured list, although question, I mean, he was recovering from an Achilles and then he had a
Right.
shoulder
Right.
occur.
Now he's just fully shut down with that shoulder. So like that doesn't sound good. Who knows? We may not see him this year. We'll see.
It's not ideal. And then
Certainly.
Max Fried out with a hamstring.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He pulled his hamstring, I think, making a defensive play, I believe. Or no, he was running the bases, I think. He was running the bases.
Ooh,
Yeah, of course.
universal DH.
Universal DH, please, 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 please give us the universal DH.
I found a
Yes.
National League fan who wants the universal DH. Jackpot.
I'm in favor of all of the changes that were made last year. I think they were all great. I love the runner on second in extra innings. Like, I like a long baseball game, but at the same time, the regular season, come on. Like, we don't need a 4 or 5 hour game. Like, let's just get it over with. You guys had 9 innings to end the game. You didn't get it done, so let's have a little help now. Come on. But yeah, universal DH. I'm in favor of the extra runner on base. I was in favor of I don't know if this is still in place or not, but of the relievers having to face three batters, a three batter minimum. If that's still in place, I like that rule too. Yeah, I like that rule too because it does speed up the game, and it also it kind of keeps you honest for talent. You know what I mean? Like the days of the lefty one out guy. It's like those days are gone. It's like, look, you got to be willing to send this guy out there. There's more strategy involved in that way. Like, okay, well, which guy we're going to send out there to face these three guys? I like that more. I like all the changes. I do. I feel like a lot of the players like the changes too. I
Yes.
feel like it's more the majority is more in favor of change than the minority of holding on to the old rules and stuff like that.
I'm definitely with you on universal DH because I know you can give me shining examples of Bartolo Colon mashing glorious
Don't
homer
matter.
singular,
Imagine. Yeah.
but and I know there are some pitchers like Madison Bumgarner comes to mind who are like, nah, I want to hit, which I appreciate that they want to be complete athletes. That's really cool. But I just think, yeah, the way the game has been trending with the way that pitchers are so specialized from an early age now, you're going to get more and more guys hurting themselves just because they've spent their entire childhoods not just playing all sports, but being a pitcher. So
Right.
that's the case, and that's a huge investment. And your starting pitchers, especially, are guys that you're paying a lot of money to, that you're depending upon for a lot. They're going to hurt themselves running the bases, and nobody needs to see that.
Absolutely. Like I don't know. Otani is a different case, right? Otani is a magical unicorn all of his own. But like,
Yeah.
what would happen if you just limited him to be like, just do this one thing. Just do this one thing. Like, what would we have seen? It feels like he's been in the major leagues for a decade already, which he hasn't. But it seems like he's been here forever. But he's just been hurt all the time, so we still haven't gotten to see what he can really do.
I think that it seems to me, and prevailing sentiment seems to be everybody wants him to do both things because it's so cool. And he's legitimately good at both things, which is insane. But your point is correct, which is they have to have him healthy enough to do at least one of those things. And so far, he hasn't proven he can do it. So if this is that
Right.
year, fantastic. But I would wager if he gets hurt this year, you're going to see him go one way or the other real quick. And like the Angels probably need pitching more than they need hitting. But I would guess I don't know. I would not be surprised if it ended as a hitter because
Right.
we'll see. I mean, I hope he does both. That's freaking really cool. But even it's interesting because his pitching, while he has thrown high velocity and had some great moments, he also has walked a ton of guys and hasn't been super reliable on the mound. Whereas in the batter's box, he seems pretty fearsome.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think you're right. My feeling too. I also like the three batter minimum rule. I am torn about the man on second to start extras because, and not just because the Yankees have gotten really burned on that a couple times already. I do think there are some good reasons for it. Shortening games is better for everyone's health and sanity for sure. It does though a little feel like possibly it disincentivizes having guys who pitch to contact, which is fine because the game started going that direction. But it is tricky. It is a little tricky if you don't have a strikeout guy to put in right at the top of that inning. But whatever, build your bullpen according to that new rule, I guess. I've also heard the argument, and I'm not sure I buy this. I've heard the argument that it might advantage a team with a weaker bullpen in later innings because you're starting with an advantage. So if you're a team that makes a lot of contact and you can score a run without the benefit of a hit, then you might be in a better position because yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think ultimately the data has yet to be mined and here's how it plays out talent wise, but in terms of shortening games, it works.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, for what they've been originally intended it to do, it's doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Still guess.
It just makes me as personally stressed out. That's really the only thing I hate about it is I'm like, oh no, there's already a
It's
guy on second.
stressful. Yeah, you start the inning and like there's that guy out there. It's like the winning run is right there. There it is. Yeah. Yeah.
He's there.
Definitely.
And
I
also
agree.
like as someone whose team generally tends to not be a really great contact hitting or base running team, it makes me like even more stressed out, especially playing a team like, if it's going to be Acuna Jr. on second base, then I'm like, oh, well, he's going to score no matter what happens. I mean,
Right.
the guy makes these daring dashes from base to base no matter what. So that makes me stressed, which I guess is good for the game. It's exciting.
Right. It's super exciting. And of course that's how we got the abs train too, right? Was running the bases. Was sliding at first. It's like, oh, but it's so fun to watch. But
I mean,
love it.
they're talking about legitimately he could put up a 40-40 season.
Yeah. Yeah. He was so close. He was so close. What, 2 years ago? He was super close. Yeah.
It doesn't seem crazy. It seems to, and he's hitting like out of his mind in the early going.
He's hitting what, like 430 something right now. He's
Yes.
ridiculous. He's ridiculous. It's
You're
pretty
right.
silly. Sometimes when you look at, you're like, wait, that guy's on my team. I feel like it's the same way the Yankees fans felt when Aaron Judge had that first season where he just like, you're just like, oh yeah, that guy's on my team. What? He's on my team. Yeah.
Yes. I still feel the way about Aaron Judge a little bit, but I also feel like every time he does anything, I'm like, oh no, did he hurt himself? Which
Yeah.
in my defense, though, that's usually he does hurt himself a lot, but also for 3 years straight, everybody's gotten hurt like every day. It's become very, I didn't used to feel this way watching baseball, but now whenever anyone does anything, I'm like, but is he okay? Which is like, that's a stupid thing to think. But ironically, I think right now is the healthiest the Yankees have been in years, and they're playing their worst. So my new pet
So
theory,
weird.
I have a
Yeah.
theory. I think they're used to fighting that adversity. So now they have had to create adversity for themselves by putting themselves in a giant hole. And so now they'll play
Perfect.
great because they have something to fight against, which is playing terribly.
I love it. Yes. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. But so yeah, so okay, so moving on, that's a good segue to the lineup though, because Acuna Jr. obviously, you said he might be the best player in baseball. I think that Juan Soto might have something to say about that. I think Mookie Betts might have something to say about that, but he's easily in the conversation for the top. He's easily top five, if not top two, three, one in baseball for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The guy's unbelievable. But then beyond that, yeah, you do have last year's reigning MVP,
Yes.
casual, Freddie Freeman at
Right.
first base.
Yeah. No big deal. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
He's fun.
forever. He's so
Yeah.
good.
Freddie's great. I mean, Ozzy Albies is a really exciting player. I'm kind
Yeah.
of glad that they moved him down in the order because I feel like he's always sort of hit better lower in the order than he has in the two slot. Also, like he's a switch hitter, but he hits better from the right side of the plate. He just does. Like I feel like he strikes out more from the left side. I feel like if that continues and they've moved him down in the order and he continues to switch and it's just not happening, that they'll have to have a real heart to heart with that win and be like, come on, man, we're going to limit you. You got to do this. This is what you do better. You're going to do this. So yeah, Ozzy's a lot of fun. When we got Dansby Swanson in that trade, and he's a hometown guy. He's a Georgia native. That was such a wild thing to get because he was the number one overall pick, right? And it was just like, and we didn't like get him for nothing, but at the same time, it was like we got him for a pitcher who ended up not being a part of our plans in the future, and who ended up it was just like, okay, and here at this, but to their credit, they had a log jam at shortstop, so like we need to get rid of this guy. Like really, there's nowhere for him to play. We have other people we like more than him. So Dansby is a solid defender. He's a good hitter. I'm glad that we moved him down in the order too. That's also good. Having having Ozuna there is really nice to protect Freeman. Travis d'Arnaud, we've gotten really lucky with, I feel like, because like he was such a big prospect for the Mets, and then he just couldn't stay healthy. And then he went to Tampa Bay, right? And he rehabbed his career. Like he was able to stay healthy long enough to show like, yes, I'm a good hitter. Remember, I'm a good hitter. And so we got lucky with him last year, with him staying healthy pretty much the whole year. And he was a real catalyst for us, in the heart of the order there. So hopefully we can continue to get lucky with Travis, and he'll stay healthy. He's been great too. Center field has been such a problem for the Braves. That's been like where our offensive weakness has been in center field. And like last year it was like, where we had Nick Markakis still, which was nice. We had a nice veteran presence there, and Braves fans like to poop on Markakis all the time, and I was like, I don't understand why. Like he's super reliable. Like you know what he's going to give you. He's a solid hitter. He's a doubles machine. Like yeah, like I want that guy hitting low in the grade. Like put him. He's hitting seventh or eighth. Great. We got Nick Markakis hitting seventh or eighth. So I feel like we missed that. But Pache is supposed to be ready. Like he should be ready by now. His bat's not quite ready. Of course, now he's on the shelf right now. We had that Heredia guy come and hit. He came and hit what 2 home runs and 6 ribbies last night. It was insane. Like getting called up to play center field. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? But that's sort of been the weakness. Yeah. It's totally wild. It's totally wild.
Pretty strong group overall, especially the top part of that lineup is super fearsome. Also, though, I think we've glossed over the most important offseason addition, which was you guys signed Pablo Sandoval.
Yes. Oh my God. What an amazing signing that's been so far. I think at one point was he batting 1,000 off the bench? I think, but like he was batting like 800 with 2 home runs or something like that, and that's what he was amazing.
He's already, I think, 1 home run away from the season record for pinch hit home runs or something.
That's real.
It's stupid because you don't go off the bench and hit a home run every time. That's insane. No one does that, but he's apparently doing that. So, I mean, I'm all about watching Panda mash. That's fun.
It's a lot of fun. He just crushes the ball. I mean, I remember loving to watch him play for the Giants when he could still play the field and still get out there and do the thing. It was a lot of fun. At one point, the Braves had Pablo Sandoval and we had Jake Lamb in spring training. It was like, what is this, like 1998? Like, what's going on with like our lineup right now? It's pretty amazing with those guys. But yeah, Pablo Sandoval off the bench, that's a lot of fun. We were talking about Bartolo Colon before, and I'm just like, I treasure that Bartolo Colon spent 1 season on my Braves. Like, I feel like it's an honor to have Bartolo Colon on your team for at least a season. Like, you should feel honored by it. Yes, yeah, right, exactly. So, like, I love that. But yeah, the Panda has been great off the bench. It's a lot of fun to have a fun bench bat like that, and he's really delivered. So he's been clutch for sure.
Has he stayed in to play the field at all? Because I always forget that he was ostensibly a third baseman, which is
third baseman, right? Yeah, playing the hot corner, that guy out there, it's pretty wild. I don't think we've had to have him play the field yet. I don't think so. Obviously, I think you avoid that at all costs if you can. But he may be called into action at some point. We'll see. Austin Riley does a pretty good job defensively. So he's good over there. He's a good defender, and his bat, he's kind of a 3 true outcomes kind of a guy, right? I mean, he's a big power hitter, but he's going to strike out a lot at the same time. So it is what it is. Some people just hate on him so much. It's like, he's a prospect. Whatever. You got to give him some more time. Like he's not super young anymore, but still he's got plenty of tools. He's a good defender. He's fine as a low in the order bat who can give you some power. Like, leave Austin alone. Let him do his thing. He's fine.
I'm with you. I am glad I'm not glad to hear this. I hate when fans are down on guys, but it's nice to hear that it's not just Yankees fans, because truly it's like people are looking for reasons to be negative. And I mean, it's true. Every prospect doesn't pan out, but also every guy that gets to the major leagues has already done an amazing job. And there's so much development that has to happen at that level. Because you see some guys just come up and be incredible right away, like Ronald Acuna Jr., but not everybody, most guys, in fact, I would argue, can't do that. So it is tough looking at a guy who's fairly new to that level of baseball and is producing quite well. And as you say, quite good on defense, and certainly has had some great moments on offense. And just, it's hard to take the long view, I think, for people to say, okay, he's making improvements. We see what's happening. He's not a star right now, but everybody were a star when they came up. Every team would have 9 stars.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So you just gotta give him some time and just like be happy with what he gives you. The one Braves player that I was a little okay with piling on when we were piling on him, and he replaced. He was playing center field for 1 game and then he got hurt, of course, which is what happened. Ender Inciarte was the ire of Braves fans for a while. He just didn't hit the ball. It was like, great defense, you can't hit the ball. So like, well, you're not doing us any good here. And poor Ender, like when he first came over to the Braves in trade, like he was pretty good, and then his bat just fell off. His defense was still good, and then we were always trying to find ways to platoon him and replace him and all this stuff. And he was just this expensive bench bat. And that's still sort of what he is, I think. Although I think he has a new deal now. I think we got him on a new deal this year as a bench bat. But anyway, he got hurt. Like he started 1 game as center field, and then he got hurt. It's going great. So, but we got that Heredia guy apparently as an ace in the hole. So I guess it worked out.
Who knew? And then also, you guys also had another fun story this week, which was Sean Kazmar Jr., who I just saw the headline. I looked into it, and So yeah, his deal is it's been 12 years and 256 days between major league appearances for him. He's been in the minors all of that time, which that's insane. Thinking about how little minor leaguers make and how tough that life is, to stick with it for almost 13 years is completely bonkers. And also, like, what a great story that he's able to get some major league time right now.
It's so wild, and it is a really great story. I know that that Snit was talking about him and talking about how he coached him, at AAA, and how what a great guy he was, and like what a grinder, and how like if you like what it was one of the highlights of his managerial career to call him and say like we're calling you out, like you coming up for a cup of coffee, come do the thing, and how great that was. And like you said, it's like they make such little money, and it's such a hard life being a minor league baseball player to have done that for so long. And I heard a story on the radio earlier today as I was driving home from work about how he, like, one of the reasons why he did it was he was like, if I just stick around long enough, like my kids will get to see me play in a major league game. Like and they did, and he did it. He finally made it. So it's like, it's a really great story. It's very cool.
I love everything about that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I guess I don't even know who you guys, so many people injured. I'm not even sure who he's replacing, but I'm assuming when someone comes back, he'll probably be the one to go. But in the meantime, what a delight.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think an infielder, I think, because Albie's got hit. Albie's had a hit by pitch the other night, and so he's been out a couple of nights. But he'll probably be back for the Yankee series, it looks like.
According to my notes, this guy Kazmar plays short and second.
There you go. Yes, yeah. So he's a bench bat replacement for Albie's.
Yes. Well, I'm glad Albie's will be back. I don't. It's hard, right? Because I never want to see guys be injured. I want to see all the good players play,
Right.
but I also want to win some games because
Of
good
course.
grief.
Understandable. The Yankees and the Braves had such good, in that '90s period where the Yankees were really good too. There was such a, it was always like we want to get to the series and play the Yankees, A-Rod's Yankees. Like, we want to play those guys.
I mean, yeah, those years, but also the much like you, I am a spoiled fan who really has a team that never doesn't contend.
Right.
So I recognize my position of privilege here. My franchise
Yes.
literally always playing to win a World Series, which is amazing. Haven't done it in a while, but it's hard to do.
Super hard to do. It's super hard. It's a whole new series. It's like the NBA says, it's the second season. When you get to the playoffs, it's like everybody starts at square one, man. It doesn't matter what you did in the regular season anymore. You got to deliver now, and it's hard. It's really hard to do that.
And that was actually there's the one thing that they did not keep from last year, which I'm glad, which is the expanded playoffs.
Right.
I'm sure they're going to find a way to expand them a little bit, at least just financially.
Yeah.
They decided that's a
Keep
good idea,
money,
but
yeah.
it's so hard because I'm watching last season. I mean, starting with a 3-game series is patently insane because you watch a full season of 3-game series and you see the Marlins win 3 out of 4 from the Braves, and you're like, that doesn't seem. If and in fact, last playoff, watch the Marlins sweep the Cubs 2 out of 3.
Right.
I mean, the Cubs were playing pretty bad at that point, but still, you can. I was watching and thinking to myself, well, on my end, oh no, the Yankees are totally going to lose this series. Thankfully, they did not, thankfully. But
Right.
what if the Dodgers had? Like, what if the
Yeah.
Dodgers had what happened the year before, which is losing the Nationals, but even
Right.
worse, in the first round?
It's right in the very first round. Yeah, totally. Yeah, like you said, I mean, there's the financial argument for expanded playoffs is always there. The MLB does have it's so smaller. It's harder to get into the playoffs in baseball. It is, and that makes it more exciting, makes it more rewarding. But at the same time, it is like there's so many good teams.
Okay, so talked a little bit about the roster and how the season's gone so far. But what do you think the kind of best and worst case scenarios for this team are?
I think the worst case scenario is not making the playoffs. Like I could, with how stacked the NL East is, I could easily see that happening, especially with them starting off the way that they have. Like if their bats go cold all of a sudden, if if Freddie and Ozzy and Dansby and Ozuna are all not hitting, like and Ronald has to do as much as Ronald is doing, like he can't sustain that. I mean, maybe he can, but he can't sustain like the whole thing over the course of the season. He just can't do that. So and the Phillies, the Nationals, the Mets, the Marlins. I mean, they're all really talented teams. So the Braves could very easily finish in the middle or at the bottom of the table in the AL East and just miss the playoffs. Even if they do end up having a solid season in terms of wins and losses, it could still very much happen. So I think worst case scenario is they miss the playoffs. And I could very easily see that happening, especially with the sort of iffy starting pitching that we were talking about before. And then best case scenario, I think is getting back to the NLCS. I just don't think anybody can stop the Dodgers right now. They're just nasty. They're so stacked. It's obscene. It's obscene.
Yeah, it's embarrassment of riches.
It really is. It's just you look at their line, you look at their roster, top to bottom, all the pitching that they have. I mean, like they have all those guys that could be starters that they have to hide in the bullpen because it's like, yeah, we got too many starters starting pitchers. They can
Leave
make
it
a trade,
right.
but it's like, who would they trade for? Like, what do they need? They don't need anything really.
Literally, David
So
Price is now a leading reliever, which is insane. As someone
it's
who's,
insane.
having had to play that guy for gajillions of years in the American League East, the Yankees actually did pretty well against him in general, but he's an insanely good pitcher. And to think that they can now just have the luxury of throwing him into the eighth inning, or if Kenley Jansen really can't figure it out, then he could be your closer.
I'm
That's
closing.
bonkers. Just like what's going on. And I think what you said is true because the Padres too are an insane force, and those two teams are probably 1-2 in the National League, I would expect, which makes it even harder in other divisions because you kind of, I mean, I would say it would be shocking to me personally if two teams came out of the Central in the
Right.
National League, just that division's a mess. But it does mean you're probably not going to get both wild cards from the East.
No.
So
Uh,
finishing third and a very close third probably cuts you out of the playoffs.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's challenging. It's a really challenging season for sure.
I'd be interested to see. Yeah, it'd be interesting because I think you're probably right about the Dodgers being really, really difficult to beat, especially in a long series, just because they have the depth.
Yeah.
But I'd be interested to see it at some point in the mid-season if the Braves were to make a move. It seems like you're right, starting pitching.
Yeah, going to get a starter from a from a team that's not competing. I could very much see the Braves doing that, especially if like Smiley stays hurt or like we don't get Soroka back and none of the young guys are working out. Like I could definitely see us doing it. We had Cole Hamels on the roster all last season. He never made a start for us, but we had Cole Hamels on the roster all last season. So we've been trying get the veteran starter retreads in here and see what they got left in the tank and try to do the thing. So I could see us doing that. I would prefer us making a bigger move for a starter that we have a little more control over. Like I would prefer something like that. We were pretty successful with Dallas Keuchel a couple of years ago. Like he did pretty well for us coming in. He had a shortened season with us. That worked out pretty well for us. But yeah, like I could see us doing that. But at the same time, we've been so reluctant to trade from our farm system. Like we really have. I know that like Drew Waters is like our next up and coming outfielder. And I know that like they don't want to trade him at all. Those guys, Kyle Wright, Ian Anderson, like Anthopoulos has been very reluctant to trade them. Like the Braves have always been a team that likes to build from the farm system, like really likes to build from the farm. So I get why they've done that, and I prefer that in the long run too. But yeah, it's like when I start to try to think about about putting the pieces together to get that arm, that reliable starter that we need. I'm not sure where they start. I'm really not sure where they start. But I could definitely see them doing that, especially if we get ourselves into the hunt and it's like we just need one more starter to get us over the hump. Like I could see us pulling the trigger on that for sure.
And yet, hey, you know what? Cole Hamels is still a free agent, so you can
That's right. We can still go
get
get
Cole
Cole.
Hamels again.
Yeah, why not? Bring him in. Let's see what he can do.
You never know. Maybe he'll have a last hurrah, and you can be the beneficiary of that. That'd be fun.
Absolutely. I'm all for it. Bring him back.
Great. Okay, so the last thing I have about this topic is I think we covered the roster pretty well, but talk to me about a Braves player that I probably wouldn't know off the top of my head. So not our buddy Ronald, who I should know and be excited about.
Sure. I I mean, I really like our bullpen a lot. I do. I could talk a lot about the bullpen guys. Minter and Matzek particularly are really great, and Luke Jackson I think are all just like really really solid arms that are really like we have a lot of options coming out of the bullpen. We have Chris Martin with the Coldplay lead singer who also pitches for baseball every now and then, who's
Amazing.
injured right now, but like he's really great. I mean, our bullpen is so deep right now that we let Shane Green go, and I think Shane Green is still I don't think he's signed with anyone still, which is kind of surprising to me. Maybe he has by now. I would hope he has by now. But
Remember,
he was pretty solid for us too last year. So all of the bullpen guys I really like a lot. Tyler Matzek in particular, though, and AJ Minter are really exciting to me. I think they're a lot of fun. We just did like a little trade with the Brewers recently too to get this player Orlando Arcia as a utility bat, which I was really excited about because the Brewers kind of like they just have a logjam of hitters. Like they have too many good hitters right now. And so they were trying to find a spot for Arcia, because he's a pretty young guy, still youngish guy. And he's not like a power hitter or anything like that, but he can hit for contact. He has good defense, and he has some speed too. And the Braves have like have been fairly successful with utility bats, but Johan Camargo used to be a really, really great utility bat for us. And the past 2 years has kind of fallen off, which is disappointing because he's a fun player and he has good chemistry with the rest of the guys, and everybody seems to like him a lot. So it's been kind of a bummer that he hasn't been the guy that we liked him to be before. So I'm kind of hopeful that Orlando Arcia, once he works his way into the organization more, can be that guy off the bench. When we made that move, I saw that move, and I feel like that move went sort of unnoticed by a lot of people. And I was like, oh, cool, we got this guy from the Brewers. Great, awesome. I like that a lot. So I feel like he's the guy that I'm watching to see if he can really make a difference, to really deliver when he's called upon. Because like we said, we're not going to see Pablo Sandoval out there at the Keystone anytime soon. That's not going to happen. So so we'll see what happens.
And Arcia can legitimately play shortstop too, which is great.
Yes, exactly. So if Dansby goes down, or if Albies has an extended absence, then he could really fill that void once he gets his feet under him.
Yeah, or if he needs a day, or like if you're in
Right.
American League Park and you get a DH. Who knows?
Exactly. Right. Oh, those magical days of the DH. I can't wait.
You get two coming up. You're at Yankee Stadium the next 2 days.
That's right. I hope it's Pablo Sandoval. I really do. I hope it's him.
Okay, me too. I really hope that too. Oh, that's so great. I will enjoy that a lot, except he's gonna, of course, hit homers. But whatever, it's fine. They have to play better at some point. Maybe it won't be the next 2 days. I don't know. We'll see. Super. So the only other thing I have before I have a goofier topic is, so we should talk about this. The big drama for the Braves this year was the All-Star game, which was supposed to be held at your stadium, moving in a certainly hotly debated move. It's going to be in Colorado now, which totally separate is going to be really fun because, as we know, that's a huge hitter's park. So watching a home run derby at altitude will be delightful.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but tell me what your reaction was to watching this whole thing unfold.
Yeah, totally. I really do think that the drama over the All-Star game affected it can't help but affect the players, right? So I do think that you can pin some of that drama on the Braves slow start. I really do think that the players can't help but be distracted by that. They can't help but have opinions about that. I'm kind of surprised that I haven't heard more from our players about it. But at the same time, I guess I can understand that. I'm sure they've been very discouraged by the organization to talk about it in any way. Brian Snitker said very few things about it in general. So the Braves are one of two Major League Baseball teams that are owned by a corporation, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. The other one being the Blue Jays. So I'm sure that they're much more restricted in terms of how their players can speak out. You wouldn't see Trevor Bauer on the Braves, for example. You're not going to see a guy that's just going to shoot off and say whatever he wants. Yeah, right. Liberty, yeah, true. Liberty Media would not allow that to happen or anything like that. So anyway, yeah, I mean the All-Star game fiasco, good for Major League Baseball. I mean they made the right move. That's the right call. It's like, yeah, we're gonna do this. That's what we're gonna do, and that's because we're gonna stand by this. It's not cool for, we can't host this showcase event in a location that is actively trying to suppress the rights of human beings. Like we cannot do that. We legitimately can't, and I'm very glad that they did. Yeah, I definitely think the players were affected by that. I think that's the right call. I hope that I hope that Cobb County gets a chance to host the All-Star game at some point in the near future. It is a really nice park. I got to go. I went for the first time 2 years ago, in the pre-pandemic season. I went, and it was a lot of fun. It's such a weird thing, because it's like there are all the hotels there and the shops, and there's like a concert hall and a movie theater, and it's such a weird thing. And that's a whole nother sidebar, right? Is the move from downtown Atlanta, Georgia to Cobb County, again, Liberty Media. It's like, cool, like I get why you're doing it because you're planning on making more money this way. But at the same time, like, you're taking the Atlanta baseball team out of the city of Atlanta, out of this incredibly rich cultural city, rich African American history, rich in African American history, and Major League Baseball wants to get more Black kids into the game, and it's like, and you're taking it out of this Black stronghold of a city, this beautiful, diverse city, and putting it in the suburbs. So we're getting very political now, but it's like, why are you doing this? So like the Braves have done a lot of things recently that sometimes make it very hard to be a Braves fan.
Yeah.
Not to even mention our mascot and things like that we need to address, that we need to talk about, that we need to change. So it's hard. It's very hard to be a Braves fan right now. The hardest thing about the All-Star game move wasn't losing the All-Star game. It was the statement that Liberty Media put out about it, where they used the word victim in their statement, and they referred to the businesses and the fans being the victims of this move. And it's like, how could you allow that? Like, one, like your statement is just so backwards. But two, like, how could you use that targeted terminology to describe this situation that is just like, no, the victims are the people whose votes are being suppressed. Those are the victims, okay? They're the black people that live in Atlanta specifically, in Fulton County, where you moved the baseball team out of to a different county. They are the ones who are the victims here, and you made that statement. It was really hard. It was really hard. I did not. I was all excited to wear my Braves hat, on the day. This happened like the day after opening day, didn't I think? Like, yeah, like the next day. I wore my Braves hat to work on opening day. Then the next day I was like, I don't want to wear my Braves hat around. Like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to, like, I don't, I still love my team. I do, but it's like, I don't want to show my out and out support for them right now because of the statement that they made. Like, if they had made an accepting statement, if they've been like, we understand, and yes, we don't stand for this, like, I would have been like, cool, Braves hat on, great, let's do the thing. Come on, Georgia, do the right thing. But they didn't do that. They went the other direction. They put themselves on the wrong side of history and the wrong side of human rights, and it was very frustrating. So yes, I do think that affected the players. I do think that's why we lost some games. We lost a bunch of games at the beginning of the year, for
I
sure.
believe it. I think I 100% agree with everything you just said. I think you pinpointed something that's tough about being a fan, though, because why you're a fan of the team has so much to do with your history with watching the players, and but at a certain point, it's the players. They're the ones that make it really exciting to watch, and yet the actions of the team are so much about the corporation in your case, or the owner, rich owners in other cases, that don't. There's a huge disconnect. And as you say, players, especially in baseball, often are discouraged from getting political. And I've heard players say also that because more than any other sport, they spend so much time together with their teammates who come from all over the place,
Yeah.
they tend to avoid it amongst themselves often as well, just because you don't want to have a huge fight about politics on day one and then 6.5 months later not be speaking to the person next to you in the locker room. That you understand that. But yeah, it's tough as a fan because yes, you're still gonna hope that Albies has a great season and Acuna Jr. does have a 40-40 year, but it is hard to watch the sensible Braves organization make a statement like that. That I thought was interesting too. That they yeah, the terminology is a mess.
Yeah.
Victimized, don't know, but also it just speaks to what society is now, which is that the only way to get a point across is to make it hurt financially. So it wasn't like an accidental side effect that local businesses were going to suffer. It was a point being made to the politicians in the state that like we can't support your businesses that are in your state if you're going to make restrictive voting laws that disenfranchise a large segment of the population.
Right.
So just it felt like both tone deaf and also missing the point.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that is the point. Yeah, that's right. You're being hurt because this is what we have the power to do. So we're going to do it.
Yeah, tough. But in any case, I think the right move was made, and I agree that I hope that this is all between all that and all the many huge corporations making statements and hopefully taking firmer action than that. I do hope that that gets fixed and that a future All-Star game can happen in your park, which segues nicely to my next topic, which was actually talking about the stadium. So I never been, but I also have it in my head as SunTrust, and I know now it is
Right.
Truist.
Now it's Truist Park. Yes, right. It was Truist. Like, it was the first season. It was Truist was the season that I went. Yes, Truist Park now.
Great. I did not process that in my head until I looked it up and was like, "Oh, that's different." So you said you've been. I have not been. So
Yeah.
it's in what? It's in the weird like commercial complex.
Yeah. They built. It's like, I mean, they've made it into a destination essentially. There are a couple of hotels that are attached to it. There are a bunch of restaurants. There's a whole like outdoor shopping mall. When I went, I went and saw there's a concert venue across the street from the stadium. I went beforehand to see a concert. by this group called the Baseball Project, which is led by Mike Mills of REM, and he and a bunch of other guys just write songs about baseball, and they sing songs about baseball. It's awesome. It's really great. So I went to see the Baseball Project play, and then I went to the Braves game after that. So yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's definitely a cool experience. There's a lot to do besides watch baseball. If you want to go to a ballpark and not watch baseball, you can do that certainly at Truist Park. You can do whatever you want there. But it is a very nice park at the same time. I feel like it plays pretty balanced. It seems to play like a pretty balanced park for the most part. It doesn't seem particularly overpowered in either direction. I don't think I haven't looked at all the data, but I don't think like the power numbers there jump off the page or anything like that. So it seems to be a pretty balanced park. Yeah, and it's a pretty park. It's a nice place to watch a game. Yeah, I enjoyed my experience there a lot.
If I were to go to a game there, how are Atlanta fans generally as it pertains to opposing fans? Do we get, 'cause
Sure.
I mean,
Mhm.
I go to Yankee Stadium all the time, so I am very well aware that there are some Yankees fans that are really impossible to deal with. Not me, by the way. I love talking to opposing fans. I think it's fun, but the Bronx tends to be a little aggressive in terms of booing fans of other teams. But how are they in Atlanta? Is it more of a sort of southern laid back situation, or are they going to be attacking you?
I would say it's definitely more of a southern laid back situation. The Braves fans tend to get a rap sometimes as being kind of fair weather fans and as being a little ungrateful for the success that they've had. I've been to several games, or I went to several games at Turner Field, the previous park, where I would say it was especially for teams that travel well, like Cubs fans and Red Sox fans and stuff like that, where the Cubs and Red Sox fans were close to maybe not outnumbering, but a very, very vocal minority, a very
Wow.
large, well-represented minority in the parks there. So attendance at Braves games is really not that great, to be honest with you. I think a large reason for that has to do with one of the reasons why there are so many Braves fans all over the country is the same reason why there are so many Cubs fans all over the country. Because for so long, you could watch every single game for Atlanta or Chicago Cubs on television because the Cubs were always on WGN and the Braves were always on TBS. Every single game was. And you just with basic cable across the country, you got those channels. So you could always watch every single Cubs and Braves game. So there are lots and lots of Cubs and Braves fans all across the country. And I think that feeds into why Atlanta fans don't go to games as often as fans of other franchises because they're so used to seeing the Braves on TV. And of course, television deals have changed now, and I feel like this season it's harder to find games sometimes. Like it's harder to it's like what streaming service is my team on right now? Okay, like Fox Sports South is now Bally Sports. Like I think they're Bally. I don't know, whatever. So there's all this rebranding and switching and all this stuff. But I feel like Braves fans are a lot of Braves fans are more TV fans than they are like go in person fans. Uh,
Interesting.
but I think that's a byproduct of TBS, of Ted Turner and TBS, of just like being able to watch the Braves on TV all the time, no matter where you were. Um, yeah, so like Braves fans get kind of a rap for being fair weather fans, but I don't think that that's entirely fair. But I do think in terms of them showing up at the park, I do think that that's kind of fair. I feel like Braves fans only really turn up en masse when they're like really good or when it's getting close to October. That's when you start to see the park really full. Otherwise, if you're a fan of a visiting team, you're probably going to be pretty well represented there. Chances are you'll find a lot of your kin there with you.
Great. Okay, I'll keep that in mind because I do have a mission to eventually get to all the parks, and
Good.
Atlanta is not that far from New York, so that seems like a very feasible trip to make. It sounds like a gorgeous stadium. The Braves, I think the Braves are fun to watch and
Yeah.
exciting players, and so I'm into that trip. And I mean, the Yankees fans travel very well too. There are Yankees fans literally everywhere because
Right.
they're the most branded franchise
Yeah.
in
Of
sports.
course. Yeah.
So I will great. That's good to know though that I won't get booed out of my mind. People usually I will say this when I end up with other fans around me from other teams, they start out kind of worried and possibly potentially hostile, and then usually when having a nice conversation. Um,
Yeah.
I even and Yankee Stadium, no matter what, is almost all Yankees fans because we turn out. But I went to the first playoff game I ever went to was recently. It was 2018, and it was Yankees Red Sox, and it was the worst Yankees loss in franchise history in a playoff game. It was terrible, but there was a full row of Red Sox fans sitting right behind me, which was bad. But at first, they were kind of like just attempting to talk shit a little bit, but they actually knew less about their team than I did. So it ended up being a really good thing where they lead 9 be like, wait, who's that guy? I was like, I'll talk to you about this. You're kicking our butts, but I'm gonna say at the end anyway. I'm gonna watch backup catcher Austin Romine pitch in the playoffs. Why not?
Nice.
That happened. It was great. Um,
Awesome.
Now, my last question about the stadium, I don't know if you know this because I guess, but do you know, are there any signature food and drink items that are like special to Truist Park or to Atlanta?
Don't I don't think I know. I don't know. I don't remember what. I don't even remember what I ate when I went to 2 weeks ago. Don't even remember what I ate. I probably had. I'm pretty simple. I probably had like a hot dog and some fries or something
Hard to go wrong with
like that.
that.
I know, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I know that such a big thing. Like I remember when I lived in New York, going to a lot of games at City Field, and I loved that they had funnel cakes on the upper level. And I could get a funnel cake whenever I wanted one. I was like, this is great. I think that that's not like a just City Field thing, but at the same time, I was thrilled because I'd never had a funnel cake at a baseball game before, so I was thrilled about that. Fried dough is my spirit animal, so I like whatever. I'm thrilled about that. But yeah, I can't remember what the like the signature foods in Atlanta would be. I would assume there's probably some sort of pulled pork barbecue. I would think, which is incredibly popular in the South. I'm sure there's some barbecue stuff there.
I would eat that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Man. I went to a bunch of games in like I've been to a bunch of Washington football team games and some Baltimore Oriole games and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of crab, but there's a lot of like Old Bay season things and stuff like that. And I like that because it's you have that regional representation there. But I don't know, like you think about the Southeast, you think about soul food and stuff like that. And soul food is not the best baseball food. It's really not. It requires a little bit more space, a little more, yeah, right, a little maybe a knife and a fork going on or something like that. Maybe not the best kind of food in a ball game. So
I do think this is the reason I asked this is it's turned out to be a very tough question for everybody. Almost nobody has been able to tell me an answer to this so far. And I think that's interesting, but I also think it makes me wish there were more regional specialties in ballparks because I think that is so fun. And as you were saying about, unfortunately moving a stadium out of an urban community into a suburb, the more you can integrate with the place you are, the cooler things are. And I will say the Yankees don't have any interesting food in the stadium. The Mets have much better food in their place. But I still, even there, I'm like, are there New York specialties in the stadium? I'm not sure. But I think this should be a thing. There should be special things that are Atlanta, and I mean, yeah, barbecue comes to mind.
right.
But also at this point, you could put anything on a stick. Just put something
Right.
on a stick, and then
Yeah,
it's
whatever you
baseball
want on a
food.
stick. Right. Put pizza rat on a stick, and that'd be a good New York specific thing. There's Shake Shack at City Field. City Field has Shake Shack, so there's that. That's
Yes,
good.
there's Shake Shack at it. There's a fancy steak sandwich place in Yankee Stadium that is like the classic place to go. So I mean that's pretty New York, like the like Lobel's Butchers. There's some stuff. It just there's not I New York is such a melting pot of food anyway. That's hard for me to say what is New York food. Like I grew up in New York City and my comfort food is Chinese, but I wouldn't
Right.
say that's New York food.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's noted. And the last thing about this, so I love mascots, and my team doesn't have one, which I understand. It's our vibe. Fine. But you guys do have one, and I remember the unveiling of the creature that is now called Blooper.
Yes. Blooper.
And I'm just confused and fascinated because, first of all, to start off with, Blooper is a fantastic baseball name.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
means several different things and it's goofy, which is perfect for a mascot. But
Yeah.
as per my notes, in 2018, the Braves put a bunch of inputs into the Character Builder 3000 and had a whole fan event where they kind of pulled a lever and this machine opened and this creature emerged. And that was everyone's first look at Blooper. Now, he is nothing in particular except for a weird looking Muppety thing, which no shade. That's great.
Great.
My thoughts upon looking at a picture of him were that he's got like the facial shape of like a Beaker, the Muppet, just like
Yes.
long
Totally.
skin. And then he's got the Philly Fanatic's nose as ears.
Yeah.
And then he's got like my mom's beige carpeting as fur.
He's a very weird mascot. I mean, I'm glad that they got a weird mascot. I mean, I noticed that the Philly Fanatic connection is very clear, and they caught a lot of flack. They were like, "You just made like a different colored Philly Fanatic," and it's like, yeah. okay, sure.
Fanatic is a classic mascot, so
Right,
do
exactly. But
first.
if you're going to emulate a mascot, like why not the Philly Fanatic?
Yeah.
But I am glad that we had very problematic mascots for a long time, obviously. So we finally got rid of our problematic. Well, we still, but we got rid of the physical embodiment of the problematic mascots. And then we had Homer. We had Homer who was just like a baseball headed thing. There's a
Oh,
picture of
weird.
me on like my 28th birthday with me and Homer and like some Atlanta beer girls, and it's a great picture. I treasure it to this day. It's a good one. And then and then they're like, all right, Homer's a little generic, guys. We gotta put some money into this and figure it out. So I'm glad that they came out with Blooper. He seems fun. He has fun antics at the games. They feature him. He does fun stuff. So yeah, so I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Blooper. I'm glad they put some money into it. But I can definitely see why people were a little upset about the Philly Fanatic comparisons for a while there. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's tough though, because you're right. I mean, you want something that's specific to your franchise, but you don't, in your case, with a sort of mildly problematic franchise name, you probably don't want to go any more that direction than you already are.
Right.
So what they chose was something just very not generic, because he's got a lot of personality, but
Yeah.
just random.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's fun. It was a fun thing for for sort of an uptight sort of stodgy corporation to do. It's like, let's do this. It's like, great. Okay, let's have some fun, guys. Great.
Does he have any? I mean, I may not know this, but does he have any like particular hijinks or just general mischief?
Just general mischief. Like I'm sure they probably established. I only went to that one game, and they don't tend to. Unless you're the Philly Fanatic. I feel like mascots don't get as much screen time as they have gotten in the past. I feel like it's a little
I would
fewer folks.
argue not enough screen time for mascots.
Yeah, absolutely. We need more mascot screen
More
time. Come on,
mascot.
give people what they want. Especially like there was a lot of mascot mayhem last year when there were no fans in the stands. That was kind of fun.
Yes.
But we need more of that going forward. I feel like. So I'm not sure. I'm sure he has some fun like every game. Guess where Blooper is kind of a thing on the jumbotron. But I'm not sure. I don't recall from the one game that I took in 2 years ago.
I've got my phone here because I just took a photo of the there's a page on the in the Braves trio web pages that talks about Blooper, and I was just curious. I will say I did this for the Tampa Bay Rays mascot, who is a baffling mascot, but somebody, I'm assuming an intern, wrote like a 3 paragraph essay on his origin story, which I read every word of on my interview with my Rays fan friend because it was unbelievable. Bloopers, we know where he came from. He came out of a machine, so you kind of can't make up too much of a history. But what it does say is that he uh, is everything you could imagine in a mascot. Seriously. During the festival, fans use a special mascot making machine to create him. He is big, he is fuzzy, he is funny, he loves the Braves, and he definitely will make you laugh. And then he also apparently makes appearances at the community around Atlanta or Atlanta and environs. And
Sure.
that's fun. I love that. Mascots doing outreach is something we should have a lot more of. Um, he does say there's a whole blooper stat line thing here, and the position he plays apparently position is center of attention.
Nice,
So that's
nice.
delightful.
Yeah,
Um, and he throws t-shirts.
yeah, yeah. He does t-shirt throwing. Always a good skill to have as a mascot.
What we have here is favorite food. It is seafood with C spelled SEE, which means if he sees food, he eats it.
Okay, all right.
His other
Just a,
favorite foods are things that should be in the stadium. So we got cornbread, peaches, grits, and sweet tea.
there we go. Okay, yeah, super super southern. Yeah, right. That makes sense. Yeah.
These are the things I want to be served in Truist Park. I want
I
all
bet
those things.
they've got a shrimp and grits bowl. I bet they do. That would make sense for them to have that. I'm sure they do. They
If
must have
they
that.
do, that's what I'm getting when I go because I love shrimp and grits. That sounds
Oh
amazing.
yes. Yeah, so
Um,
good.
and then he says his likes are dancing with the Tomahawk team, racing the Home Depot tools. I don't
Okay,
know.
yeah, right. That's the yeah. I feel like every stadium has some sort of race involving things that don't actually race, and ours is a Home Depot tool race. So, yeah.
We don't have any of this stuff because we are
No,
we are the Yankees, so we don't do fun.
that's right. Nothing fun happens in Yankee Stadium, right?
The fun is playing good baseball.
That's
So
right.
right,
That's
there's
true.
really
Yeah.
no fun because that's not
The
even
fun is
happening.
winning, right? We win. That's what we focus on. Yeah.
I get it though. It's like the president's race for the Nationals. That you have a
Right.
Home Depot tools race. Literally, it's an animated tools running.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a
It seems-
drill and like a saw and a hammer and stuff like that. Yeah.
That seems like a terrible thing to tell children. Just run with this saw.
Yeah. Just go for this with this power tool. Why not? Yeah.
Okay, great. He loves double headers, the most baseball you can get in one day. He loves playing practical jokes on people and making people smile because he can't. because I guess
Oh, yeah,
I
'cause
have a
his
mouth.
face is frozen and that, yeah, he has no mouth and his face is just kind of frozen like that. That makes sense. Oh, that's kind of a sad, like, it's like a sad, like, sort of tragic flaw kind of a thing in a way. It's got a dark part of blooper. Yeah.
I guess though, how many mascots can really? I guess some of them have like mouths, but because I guess it's hard to change expression on a giant structured head.
Right. Yeah. Right. You gotta pick one. So they're just like, oh, let's just not have a mouth. Let's play it safe. Yeah.
Because it is kind of a tragic existence, though. Your job is to make people smile, but you yourself can't smile.
It's
So,
so sad. It's heartbreaking. Oh my God.
oh,
I love that.
I have a new sympathy and love for Blooper because I didn't know that existential dilemma.
I do too. That is my favorite thing that I've learned today by far. Is that about blooper? I love it.
I'm glad we learned together. That was really exciting. If I
Yeah.
when I make it to that park, I'm going to have to attempt to meet Blooper because I think that's my secondary goal, besides going to all the parks, should be to also meet all the mascots.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so before I let you go, I want to ask you to play a game with me. But before I
Okay.
do that, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you feel like you want to get off your chest about the Braves or baseball or anything?
Oh man. Let me
No
think.
pressure.
I don't think right. No pressure at all. Well, no, no, no. I don't think so. I think we covered everything. I think we
Yeah,
covered everything.
covered a lot.
Yeah. Pretty thorough. Yeah.
Super. So if you'll indulge me, I do have a game. I promise it's low pressure and it's easy. And also it's, it is called the matchup game.
Okay.
It is nothing like the match game, but I just stole the sound of the name. But what I have here is I have, you can't see them because they're off camera, but I have 4 baseball caps. And in one of them, I have the names of most of the hitters on the Braves. In one, I have the pitchers, and I have the same for the Yankees in 2 other hats. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw names. We're going to get 5 pitcher hitter matchups. And then for each one of those matchups, you and I are going to guess what we think the outcome will be if and when that matchup happens in a real game.
Okay.
And as I'm creating a lot of work for myself this season, I'm going to track these matchups, and we're going to point every time the matchup that we've selected ends in the result one of us has chosen.
I
So
love.
yeah, and I mean it's hard because our teams only meet 4 times, so it's
Yeah.
very possible that none of these will happen. But if anybody gets points, then the deal is the winner gets bought a drink by the loser the next time we're in the same city, preferably at a baseball game.
Awesome. I love it. I love this game. Okay, great. Good.
Amazing. Because you're the home team, because it's about the Braves today, you can choose whether you prefer to have 3 pitchers or 3 hitters on your side.
Okay. Oh, I got to take the hitters. I just don't trust our pitchers. I have to take the hitters.
And that's
Yeah.
probably right. Okay, in which case, I will start by figuring out which hat is which. All right, so in that case, I'm going to start with Yankees pitchers in this hat here. Let's see who we get. I hope I haven't left anyone here who's injured. Let's see. All right. All right, first pick. Yankees have Jonathan Loaizaga pitching,
Nice.
who is looking really good this year. He's a nasty right-handed reliever.
Yeah.
And then, okay, now I got Braves hitters in this Brooklyn Dodgers hat.
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
I don't have a Braves hat. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Fair enough.
All right. All right. All right. And the we have for the Braves side is we got Dansby Swanson.
Okay. Nice.
All right. So Jonathan Loaizaga versus Dansby Swanson. And so we each need to predict what will happen in that matchup. I will go first because I think in this matchup, we're going to get a ground ball to short.
Okay. I like that. I like that. With Dansby, I will predict. I'll predict a single to left field. I'll predict
Yeah,
a single to left field. I'll
I
give
like
him a
that.
stroke there.
I think that could happen.
Yeah.
All right. Now, pitching for the Braves, we've got Bryce Wilson.
Okay.
So right-handed reliever for you guys, who I
Yeah.
know nothing about. So this is going to be a total
Yeah.
guess.
Swing man. He could start sometimes.
Oh, well then maybe we'll see him. That'd be nice. And hitting for the Yankees, Clint Frazier,
Okay.
our outfielder, who I have to let myself not be influenced by small sample size noise here because he's been really bad so far. But so have all our hitters.
Sure.
All right, you go first. What do you think?
I like Clint Frazier a lot. He's another one of those guys who it's like, God, that guy is still how young? Like it seems like he's been around forever and he's been a hot name for a long time. And now he's like he's had injury issues, and then the Yankees are also just stacked. So it's like, where's he going to play? But finally he's got a role, and yeah, he's not hitting. He was carrying it up in spring training though. So, I think that Clint Frazier will double. I think that he's a guy like what he can hit like 270 something. I mean, he's a good hitter. He's going to rebound, and I think he can hit for some power. I see him doubling it in the gap between center and right.
That makes me happy. Thank you for saying that. I love
Welcome.
Frazier, and I've been very sad that how he's been not used, I guess would be the way to say it. Even this year already, he's not playing as much as I think he should be playing. Though to be fair, he has really struggled in the early going. And I'm going to guess only because it is the next 2 days our teams are meeting. I'm going to go with a strikeout here, but I don't like it, and I'm hoping I'm wrong.
Nice.
That's just so far that's what's been happening. Maybe by the time they meet later in the season, he will have turned it around and been amazing, and that's yay. All right, back to Yankees pitching. I've got Garrett Cole, who
Okay.
we're not going to see him in this series, so
So lucky. Good Lord. Yeah, he's ridiculous.
he's amazing.
Yeah.
And then hitting for the Braves, it's going to be Guillermo Heredia.
Oh, Guillermo Heredia, like I would love to see the magic continue, but I just don't think it can. I predict that if Garrett Cole were to face Mr. Heredia, that he would strike him out. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. But since I can't go with the same thing, I will say fly out to left.
Nice. Okay.
I think you're probably right about the strikeout.
Respectable.
Okay. All right. Next up, we've got a Braves pitcher, and that person is Will Smith.
Okay. All right.
Very solid.
The Fresh Prince of Cup County.
I love it. And the Yankees have hitting Brett Gardner.
Okay. Brett Gardner's from South Carolina. He's from my state.
Yeah, he is, and very proudly so. And it's a lefty-lefty matchup, which is possible, might happen.
Possible, very possible, absolutely. Oh, okay, Brett Gardner. I like Brett Gardner a lot. He's just been he's a yeoman. I mean, he's just been doing it for so long, with a role, without a role. He just gets it done. I like Brett Gardner for a single. I like him for a little slap single between short and third, get on base.
Yeah, I'm with you. But I'm gonna go with a really risky play here, and I'm gonna say an infield single.
Okay, there you go. Nice. Yeah, he's still got some jets. He can still get it done. Yeah.
Yeah. I love Brett Gardner. Brett Gardner is an underrated Yankee. I am thrilled to have him back, and frankly, we need some lefties, and he's the one we got.
Nice.
Okay, we have one more matchup here, and Yankees pitcher. It's gonna be Corey Kluber. I can't get used to him being a Yankees pitcher, but he is one.
I bought hard in Corey Kluber in fantasy this year, and it is not paying off so far, and I'm really bummed about it. I was like, he's going to be healthy. He's going to, he might not strike out 240 guys, but I think he's going to be solid. And so far, like, has he made it through 5 innings? I don't think that he's made it through 5 innings yet.
He has not. The only thing I'll say is that he has always been a slow starter. His April stats, his whole career, have been pretty bad. I mean, bad comparatively. That being said, my observation of watching him pitch so far is that the stuff is actually not terrible. It's definitely a step up from where it was in spring training, but he has to be really accurate with it, and that seems to be the thing that is still coming. So if he can get there, which if anyone, I mean, if he is physically capable, I trust him to get there, but like we'll see. Right. Anywho, he will be facing Freddie Freeman.
Ooh, okay. I think Freddie's got to come. If it's Freddie versus Corey, he's got to come around. I'm going to give a free bomb to Freddie on this one. I'm going to say Freddie takes him deep. That's what I'm going to say.
I will agree with you, but I can't agree with you. So instead, I'm going to say it's going to be a booming double to right field.
Okay, there you go. I like it.
That was all 5. I think we came up with some pretty good options there. And actually, I think some of these pairings are likely to happen. We'll see. I'm hoping. There are a couple of my divisional rivals that had people like Luke Voigt, and I was like, it'll happen someday.
Yeah, someday he'll get there. Yeah,
next month. But yeah, it's gonna be tough in 4 games. So I'm hoping maybe one of us will win with 1 point.
Love it. Good. I hope so too. I hope so as well.
Amazing. Well, this has been completely delightful. I'm hoping that I get to go to a Braves game, and maybe I'll even see you when I'm in the area. That would be awesome.
That would be great. And I would, I can't wait to get back up to New York when it's safer to do so, and then see all my friends and meet you in person. And I would love to go to a Yankees game as well. So hopefully we can get that done.
I'm always there for that. Let me know when you're here. And in the meantime, thank you for talking to me, and thank you for giving me all this knowledge about the Braves. I feel like I'm going into tomorrow much more informed. And
Awesome.
yeah, I hope both teams actually play well. We have a
Yeah.
good series.
Yes, yes, me too. It's so nice to meet you, and looking forward to the games. And yeah, it's great talking to you. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you for being here, Patrick. Have a great night.
All right, you too. Bye.